What's up, guys? This is Zach with Engineered Wealth, and today I'm going to talk about how I purchased my first rental property and how I was able to structure the deal to where I had zero living expenses. I'll explain how and why I decided to purchase a home and how I was able to benefit immediately. I can honestly say that to this day, this was the best deal I've ever done. Not because it was my most profitable deal, but because it was the catalyst that led me to all my future real estate investing. And in my opinion, there's nothing that can set anyone up for success better than what I'm about to explain. Now, this is not a hypothetical scenario, but a personal experience of mine that pushed me into investing at an early age without any prior knowledge or experience in real estate. So please stick around to the end of this video to see if the strategy will be useful to you as well. Now, if you're new to this channel, I discuss real estate investing, personal finance, and sales. If you could please like this video, I would greatly appreciate it. It would help me reach more viewers. Now let's dive right in. This deal dates back several years ago at the beginning of 2015. I was on track to graduate with my mechanical engineering degree, and I even had a job lined up, but I had a slight dilemma with my living situation. At that time, I was renting a house with several of my friends, and our lease was set to expire the summer after we graduated. None of us knew where we were going to live upon graduation, and we needed to make a plan quickly. We were living in a college town, and we did not want to rent an apartment complex because most of them were out of our price range, and we needed something with a little bit more peace and quiet. We knew we wanted a single family home, but the ones that hit the market were snatched up extremely quickly. On top of this, none of our parents were willing to co-sign on a lease with us. So many landlords that saw our application turned us away immediately because we had not started our jobs yet. One weekend afternoon, I met with my parents for lunch, and the conversation got brought up about what our plans were for a new place to live, and I expressed some of my concerns that we were running into. My dad looked at me sternly and said,
"Well, why don't you just buy a house and then all your friends can just live with you?"
And I stared blankly back at him because this thought had never even crossed my mind. Now, I literally knew zero about real estate investing at this time, and for one, I thought I didn't have enough money, and I thought I was way too young to even buy a house. At the end of the lunch, though, my dad gave me a business card to a loan officer he had worked with in the past and told me to give them a call. I walked away from that day very conflicted and a little overwhelmed. My family had never really discussed money, finances, or even how to build wealth. Plus, I had just recently witnessed the market crash a few years prior to that, and although things were slowly starting to recover at this time, many people still were saying to steer clear of real estate. Although I was reluctant, I ended up calling the number my dad gave me for the lender to see if I could get pre-approved. It turns out I was able to get pre-approved with only having my offer letter from my future employer, and all they needed to see was my first deposit hit my account from starting my job. Overall, the process was much easier than I expected, and I was ready to make a move to try to purchase my first home. At this time, my girlfriend was living in a house with a few of her friends who were all planning to move out after college graduation. I knew that her parents had purchased this property for her and her friends to live in during college, but I did not know if they planned to keep it after she graduated as a rental or sell it and get rid of it. They did live out of state, so I knew that if they decided to keep it, it was going to be kind of a headache to manage remotely. Now, I just want to make a quick disclaimer. You should really be careful when thinking about making business or financial decisions with future family members. Thankfully, it all worked out, and my girlfriend and I are now engaged, but it could have ended up in a pretty awkward situation. The house she lived in was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with a pool and a great location just a few miles away from the university. The house was in decent condition overall, but it definitely needed some maintenance and updating. Based on all these factors, her parents and I agreed on a price of $200,000, and we would even split the closing costs equally. We were both happy in this situation. Her parents, on one hand, were able to not have to worry about getting their house ready to sell or put on the market and wait for someone to come along and buy it, and I was able to move quickly without having to spend additional time house shopping, and knowing we needed to get out of our lease quickly, this was a really important factor. I decided to get an FHA loan for this property, which required a low down payment of 3.5%, which came out to $7,000. And like I said before, we decided to split the closing costs equally, so my share came out to about another $3,000, and in total, I needed $10,000 upfront to close this deal. Now, this is where I ran into another problem, as I was a college student still and I didn't have a whole lot of cash in the bank. However, I had spent the last several years in college flipping cars and trading up to get what at that time was my dream car, which was a 2004 Corvette Z06. Although I was a huge car guy and it was really hard to let the car go, I made the decision to sell it in order to get this property. Now, I finally had all of the money I needed for this deal, and so I want to go ahead and break down those numbers. So for the payment, after adding up principal, interest, insurance, property taxes, and mortgage insurance, the total payment came out to $1,275 per month. I was able to close on this property pretty much right up to the point where our lease was set to expire. So all three of my friends that I was living with at the time were able to move in to the new house with me. So I ended up taking the master bedroom and then rented out the other 3 bedrooms to all of my friends. I rented the rooms out at $500 per month, and then on top of that, we split all of the total utilities 4 ways. After collecting all of the rental income each month from all of my friends, I was left with $225. This was more than enough to cover all of my share of utilities, which included internet, water, electricity, and trash collection. Now this was definitely a win-win scenario for everyone involved. On one hand, I was able to live for free by taking the leap into homeownership early and taking a little bit of risk in doing that. But on the other hand, all of my friends were able to rent out a room and live with me at an extremely affordable price for the area. So because I was now living for free, I was still taking $500 of my own money that I would potentially pay for rent and putting it just into my savings account. By doing this, it would only take me 20 months or less than 2 years to pay back that full 10 grand that was my original down payment for the property. Now at this point, the deal pretty much has an infinite return. And on top of that, when I move out, I can rent the last bedroom out for an additional $500 a month. Now this is where the deal would really start to cash flow, because this would bring my total monthly rental income to $2,000 a month. Now what this means is I would have a net cash flow of $725 every month after paying my mortgage payment. Now, in the real estate community, everyone knows this type of deal as house hacking. When I first started, I didn't even know what house hacking was, and I didn't even know that it was a thing. I definitely plan on making another video that goes into more detail about how house hacking works and some more of the numbers that are involved. There are additional benefits on top of cash flow, such as appreciation, principal pay down, and even some tax advantages that I want to dig into a little bit deeper. So in conclusion, I was definitely not a savvy investor when I made the decision to get into this first deal. But once I closed on the property and moved in and started seeing a lot of the advantages I was getting out of it, I instantly became obsessed with real estate and started digging more and more into research. Since then, I've been very fortunate to be a part of a lot of other even bigger real estate deals, and I can't wait to share those with you. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end of this video, and overall, I hope you found this information useful. Please comment any questions or thoughts you may have below, and I'll be sure to respond. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.